Mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani kainkwas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. As usual, you are joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raiza Kweyo.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Today is World Standards Day. Throughout the world, there is a set of standards that have been established that companies, organizations, and industries have all agreed to hold up to. These standards have been established by mutual agreements between organizations as part of their participation in the ISO, the International Organization for Standardizations. The World Standards Day celebrates the work of these men and women and their contribution they make in the world. And here is more on World Standards Day. Welcome back. In our top stories this morning, Somalia appeals to collaboration with Kenya after court's ruling. Somalia's president said in a speech that the ICJ's ruling on the border dispute with Kenya is an opportunity for the two countries to collaborate. President Farmayo spoke after the ICJ's ruled in favor of Somalia handing it control over a potentially rich area of the Indian Ocean. Kenya should instead see the decision of the court as an opportunity to strengthen the relationship of the two countries and the collaboration of other neighboring people. Somalia did not choose to be neighbors with Kenya, but it was the willing of the Almighty God. So that we are forced to live in peace together as neighbors. Somalia was committed to that forever and welcomes it now, said President Mohamed, also known as Farmayo.
Now in our second story, deeper probes sought into allegations of sexual abuse by WHO staff in Congo. Major Western donors have pressed the World Health Organization to launch a deeper external probe demanding how a major sexual abuse scandal in the Democratic Republic of Congo involving its staff was allowed to happen, diplomats told Reuters. Some 83 aid workers, a quarter of them employed by the WHO, were involved in sexual exploitation and abuse during the country's Ebola epidemic from 2018 to 2020, an independent commission said last month. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus and AIDS have shared its draft action plan with major donors, including the United States, Britain, European powers, Canada, and Australia, prompting their calls for an external oversight body while the WHO also revamps internal policies, diplomats said. Tedros, who visited Congo 14 times during the outbreak, launched the initial probe a year ago after an investigation by the Thomson Reuters Foundation and the New Humanitarian, in which more than 50 women accused aid workers from the WHO and other charities of demanding sex.
United Arab Emirates, ready to support the DRC in the fight against terrorism. The DRC has already benefited from budgetary support, in particular some $1.5 billion from the International Monetary Fund, which inflated foreign exchange reserves to $3.3 billion, reaching a historic record in the country. The United Arab Emirates announced the immediate availability of the Democratic Republic of Congo of an envelope of $1 billion of investments on the occasion of an official visit by President Felix Tshisekedi, announced the Congolese presidency on Monday. The announcement was made by Mohammed Ben, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Deputy Supreme Commander of Emirati Armed Forces, after tasked with President Tshisekedi on Sunday, the Congolese presidency reported. The Congolese president had more than an hour of exchange with the prince. The exchanges revolved around bilateral cooperations, investment opportunities in the DRC, infrastructure, energy, health, mine security, and defense.
Now, in Eswatini, we will be out in full force, says NATCOM. We will be out in full force to protect school property, teachers, and learners who want to learn. This was said by the National Commissioner of Police, William Tsitsibala Dlamini, when reacting to the ongoing incidents of school-going pupils engaging in protests. Dlamini said it was disturbing to note that in some schools, the protests turned violent and resulted in ugly scenes ranging from damage to school property, blocking of roads with burning tires and stones, stoning of motor vehicles, and other violent tactics unleashed on teachers and parents had been witnessed. Suffice to state that the full might of the law will take its course against those who will be found instigating violence and perpetrating criminal acts. We also wish to plead and urge the learners to think about their future and not allow anyone to manipulate or use them to achieve their own selfish agendas, Dlamini emphasized. Yesterday, it was reported that at least 82 schools were indefinitely closed after pupils protested, causing chaos.
The toll of the sinking on the Congo River revised to 61 dead. The search of missing passengers continue according to local authorities. The toll of the sinking of a convoy of canoes that occurred during the night from Tuesday to Wednesday near the town of Bumba in the northwest of the Democratic Republic of Congo on the Congo River has increased to from 51 to 61 dead, authorities said on Saturday. After the discovery of several bodies, the death toll is 61, including 38 men, 13 women, and 10 children. Nestor Madabo, a spokesperson of the government of province of Mongola, to which the Bumba territory falls, said in a statement. The plausible cause of the sinking of the overload aggravated by the bad weather, which means that the combined boats were torpedoed by the gust of wind, and especially that the navigation was done in particular, he added. In the absence of a manifesto, it is estimated that 150 passengers were on board, according to the authorities, the same sources said, adding that the search of the bodies was continuing.
Now in Botswana, court reserves hyped gay rights judgment. The Court of Appeal bench has reserved the much-anticipated judgment in the widely publicized case in which the government is appealing the matter in which the gay community won the decriminalization of same-sex conduct in 2019. COA Judge President Ian Kirby told court that he could not promise when the judgment will be ready, since it's a constitutional and human rights issue. The case is an appeal by the government after Letsweletse Moshe Demang, a gay man in 2019, fought and won the case when the High Court decriminalized same-sex sexual conduct. The lesbians, gays, and bisexuals of Botswana support him as friends of the court. The appeal is before a bench comprising Chief Justice Terence Ranowane, Justices Kirby, Isaac Lesetedi, Monametsi Haohalelwe, and Mercy Harehwe.
In our next story, Energy Ministry grilled over Recon Africa. The Ministry of Mines and Energy received a tongue lashing from the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources over the conduct of the Canadian oil company Recon Africa, which is currently drilling for oil in the Kavango East region. Statistics from the Energy Ministry indicates that the government has so far received 7.6 million Namibian dollars as a result of Recon Africa entering the market. It also received 12.2 million Namibian dollars for the renewal period and an additional 5.3 million Namibian dollars which went into the Petroleum Training and Education Fund. Committee Chairperson Chekero Tweya says they have established that people's livelihoods and crops production have been affected to make a way for Recon Africa's operation. The community is asking how they, the residents of the East Kavango region, will directly benefit because it is only the government that is benefiting through royalties and taxes. The committee have expressed dismay at how Recon Africa allegedly bypassed the traditional authorities in their dealings with community members, which Toya says must be addressed. The traditional leadership is ignored, and when questions are asked, they are told that the order came from Windhoek. He says, "You do not do that." The officials from the Ministry of Mines and Energy were there, yet they never advised Recon Africa to do the right thing.
In our next story, child marriage kills more than 60 girls a day. More than an estimated 22,000 girls a year are dying from pregnancy and childbirth resulting from child marriage. A new analysis from Save the Children released on International Day of the Girl reveals. Globally, levels of child marriages are highest in West and Central Africa at 40%, followed by Southern Africa 31%, South Asia 28%, Latin America and the Caribbean at 22%, the Middle East and North Africa at 15%. President and CEO of Save the Children, Yanti Sweripto, noted that child marriage is one of the worst and deadliest forms of sexual and gender-based violence against girls. The health risks of children having children cannot and must not be ignored. Governments must prioritize girls and ensure they're protected from child marriage and premature childbirth-related deaths. This can only happen if girls have a say in the decisions that affect them, he said.
Security companies with 6 months to switch weapons. Security companies have 6 months to exchange weapons of war for defense weapons allowed by law since 2014, the spokesperson for the National Police said today. Orlando Bernardo, who represented the public security situation in August and September, also said that the private security companies are now prohibited from transferring weapons from one province to another. According to the police spokesperson, the objective is to control whether it is true what it is said that the weapons that go to crime leave the security company. Many of the weapons in possession of the security company, added Orlando Bernardo, are of poor quality and are those that normally appear in crimes. According to Orlando Bernardo, these are between 4 and 5 excellent security companies in the country. But then there are those that protect the stores from the West African citizens, owners of small commercial establishments in Angola, and those that are the trouble problem.
All right, now in Botswana, illegal gold miners change modus operandi. Alleged illegal gold miners have now changed tactics as they illicitly mine for gold in the Shashe area, a few kilometers from Francistown. It is a well-known fact that illegal mining for gold in Botswana is mainly concentrated in the disused gold shafts in Francistown and the proximity of Matilohe village. However, the alleged illegal miners, or Zamazamas as they are referred to in South Africa, have now shifted their illicit activities to another place rich in gold around Shashe, an old mining area on the country's gold belt. Just like Francistown and Matilohe goldfields, the Shashe area was mined following the earliest gold rush. The illegal miners have now changed their strategy and started mining for gold in the Shashe area, since the police and the army have now intensified patrols.
Government approves recovery of 43 small dams. The Angolan government approved the contracting of works for the recovery and desilting and 43 dams in Namibi province for 24 billion kwanzas to mitigate the drought problem. The document, published in a Diario da Repubblica last Thursday, mentions that the recovery and removal of silting of small dams and dams used to store water aims to mitigate the problem of water security, especially in long periods of drought and high rainfalls irregularities. In July, the government had announced for the month of October the start of construction work on Kalkuvi and Dwe Dam, both in the province of Kunene. The dams are part of the three restructuring projects to fight the drought in the Kunene province, whose implementation was not possible before due to financial constraints. The execution works will start in the fourth quarter of this year. In other words, from the month of October. We guarantee that effectively the machines will be on the ground to start the constructions of these two projects, assured at the time of the President of the Republic.
All right, now in the last of our top stories, Queen Elizabeth, 95, uses walking stick for the first time in 18 years as she attends Thanksgiving service. British monarch Queen Elizabeth II used a walking stick for support on October 12th as she arrived for a service of Thanksgiving to mark the centenary of the Royal British Legion at Westminster Abbey. The 95-year-old monarch was accompanied by her daughter, Princess Anne, as she stepped out of a car in London on that morning. Despite her age, the Queen is rarely seen with a walking stick. The last time she used the walking aid was in 2003 after she had knee surgery. Interesting. You know, speaking of someone who's rarely seen, today in studio, Ari Hochad, one of our correspondents, came to give us a visit. So we've got a little more energy than usual to take you through the rest of the show. See you after the break.
Strike it gold and win 5,000 Namibian dollars in cash with Neo Paints. Simply buy Neo Paints products from the selected range and stand a chance to get one of 12 mystery buckets filled with gold paint. All 12 winners will each get 3 extra paint buckets equal to their purchase. One to replace the gold paint, the second to use on your project, and the third to give to a charity of their choice. One winner can score another 10,000 Namibian dollars by showing us your creative use of the golden paint. The best project wins the cash. Offer is valid from 27 September to 18 December at your favorite hardware store nationwide. Visit us at neopaints.com for more competition details and follow us on Facebook for weekly competition updates. Neopaints, a coat of excellence.
Happy Thursday and thank you very much for joining us. Juliet Edsig from the Rhino Mama Project talks about rabies among rhinos, dehorning to deter poachers, and the project in general. Tanya Bose compiled this report.
I work for the Rhino One. My name is Juliet Edsig. I work for the Rhino Mama Project and also for Malistad. I'm involved basically in wildlife, but one of my main animals is a rhino, a white rhino. You can see 2 behind me, 2 females. And I have been in this field, in this position now for 7 years, going on to 8 in November. And I'm basically overseeing the animals and caring for them. So the Rhino Mama Project started around about 8 to 9 years ago. With Jaco Miller and his son Tristan Miller. Tristan Miller actually was doing a project for school on rhinos and the horn, and then they decided to bring in rhinos onto their farm as a family farm more and a passion. And the more information Jaco Miller got on the rhinos and the actual situation of the dehorning and all the problems, he actually fell in love with the animal and the species, and in that way he started bringing more and more animals in, and actually that's how the Rhino Mama Project developed into what it is today. Species.
And what has it developed into today? What do you do?
It's developed into a type of, our aim is to maintain the genetics of the animal and also the numbers of the animals to stop the decline of the animal species. So our aim is now we've got a population that we try and look after and that we breed for genetics, and we try and repopulate areas that need repopulation. But the problem is now, because the rhino is worth more dead than alive, people actually don't want the rhino. So we are trying to build a genetic database, but it's very difficult to repopulate because people don't want the animals. So our aim is to try and maintain the species, and we do try and sell where we can, especially the young calves, that of the calves that have been old enough to be away from their mother. And then we're also looking at trying to put our eggs in more than one basket. So for example, we did do a relocation to America where they are being extremely well looked after, and they are also there for a breeding program to try and create, again, the genetics of all the rhinos. The gentleman that bought them, he's got all the rhino species, and his aim is, again, also to maintain the genetics and the number of animals. So my role in the whole organization is to maintain the health of the animal. So I try and find them every day to make sure that they're all okay, look at their health, make sure that everything's okay, and if there's a problem then I intervene, vaccinate for diseases like rabies and anthrax should be.
From what I understand, you say you vaccinate them for rabies. It's not like you imagine taking your pet to the vet and they get an injection. It's much more complicated.
Yes, shame. They actually hate me every now and again. I do build up quite a good bond with these animals, but when I vaccinate them, I have to dart them. So I use a special gun that uses gas cylinders, so it uses gas, and with that I actually have a dart with the vaccine, so the rabies vaccine, for example, and then I dart them with it, and it gives them a little owie, you could say, and then they run off and they hate me for a day, and then they forgive me and they come back.
And the dart falls out.
And the dart falls out, yes. It's a dart that falls out.
But you have to vaccinate for rabies, anthrax. It's quite a few owies.
Yes, a shame. At the moment, it's a few hours. We lost a rhino last year to rabies for the first time. So we are now starting with rabies. But that means that all the animals need their first vaccination, and then a month later they need another vaccination. So, and then our anthrax, which is Rhinovax, we call it Rhinovax, it's actually anthrax and Clostridium. It's a whole lot of diseases in one. That's in a separate drug. So we have to vaccinate the mom, for example, 3 times. And then the calf, if the calf is old enough, above a year, it gets vaccinated 4 times because it needs the first vaccination of the Rhinovax and the first vaccination of rabies, and then a month later it needs the boosters for the 2. So the poor animals go through a bit of owies.
I've never heard of rabies in rhinos.
Yes, it is very unknown. We've known of 4 cases now in Namibia through our wildlife vet that have had rabies, and I think a lot of people don't realize what it is because when they see the animal they often find it dead, and people don't really do enough investigation to know what it is. Often in the wildlife now, you see an animal dead before you see the symptoms. So it is unheard of, and we do want to do further research on it. So with these vaccinations, I am also going to be taking blood maybe in a year's time if we do dehorning or something, and we can actually see how the vaccination does work with the rhino and if it is helping.
Dehorning, you dehorn your rhinos.
It is correct.
Is that working? Is that an option?
It's definitely an option. The thing is, there's a few things. We're lucky that we chose a farm, which costs us a hell of a lot of money, excuse the language, because we're very far away and we've got very rough terrain, so it makes it difficult for the poachers to get to us. So that was one of our main strategies. Our second strategy is to dehorn, to make it not viable for a poacher to come all this way and to find that there's nothing there for them to actually poach. So by dehorning, you're actually stopping the poachers from wanting to come because there is nothing there for them to take.
And it doesn't hurt the animal.
It doesn't hurt the animal. What happens is you have to immobilize the animal. So you put the animal to sleep for a short while, and then we measure. So it's like your fingernail. You've got your nerve systems at the bottom, but as you cut your nail further up, you don't feel it. So we do 10 to 15 centimeters above the actual skin up. So it's basically a hand to a hand and a half up, and we draw a line around that. And then from there is where we actually will cut. And then we try and cut in a circular area so that there's as little horn for a poacher to take, should he want to take it. And there's no feeling whatsoever. There's no blood, there's no nothing. Then at the same time, because the animal's sleeping, I can give them the vaccinations, I can draw blood, I can do a DNA test, a RODIS test. I can do all these other things that need doing, so I call it a full service. The rhino can get a full service. I can check her, I can check her udder, her milk, everything. It wakes up and it goes back to normal. And the horn will grow back. So there is no problem at the end of the day.
A lot of people would say they compare the rhino horn trait to the elephant trait, the tusks.
Yes.
But it's completely different.
You cannot compare the two. They're two different species. Your tusk will not grow back, and it's a tusk. It's ivory. It's not horn. Your rhino is horn. It's like your fingernail. It's two different identities totally. Two different products. So you cannot compare them. If you want to compare a rhino, compare it to a sheep, because it's like a sheep. A sheep you can scare. You can take off its wool. And next year that wool will be back. It's the same with the rhino. The next year that horn will be back.
You said that it's quite expensive, the whole process of dehorning and...
Struggling obviously with COVID, I think everybody is. We want to do a dehorning now where we get people involved and we can educate people as well. It costs us around about 20,000 Namibian dollars to do one rhino for dehorning. And that is because you need a veterinarian, a wildlife veterinarian that's qualified to do the work. You need a helicopter. You need a helicopter pilot that's also qualified to fly, because it's dangerous flying. It's not easy flying. And the helicopter pilot is also there to lure the animal to an open area where you can work on it, so it doesn't end up in the thick bushes. So their roles are hugely important. And then you have your ground team that is there when the animal is starting to show signs of the drug taking effect. So it's a huge operation. It costs cars, it costs people, qualified people, which all cost money, and then your drugs. Your drugs are the most expensive part of the whole operation. So it is very expensive. And then if you take one rhino that is 20,000, and then you've got to add to like 5,000, if you do 5 rhinos, what the costs are. So it will help if we could get people involved to help fund the program, and in that way save the rhino. And also they're educated to see what the horn is. They can actually feel it, they can touch it if they want, but they also get to feel the rhino. They can get to learn about the rhino when it's under, and we can educate them from everything. So that is what we are looking at.
So it's a small little thing, everybody can get involved, and to save at least, I saved one rhino.
Exactly, yeah.
And I was there when I saved it, type of thing.
And you can then also learn, it's such an experience that you will never forget.
Africa Good Morning is your reliable source for decentralized African news. Now, keeping that in mind, we're going to cross over to the House of Stone, Zimbabwe, to have a chat with Talent Gore with regards to what's happening on the ground. Talent, wamukase.
Chamka kana mamka, mamkase.
Ah, Tamuka Hedu. Now, in your first story, which has been widely condemned, I saw on Twitter by NGOs, opposition party MDC Alliance President Nelson Chamisa was tear-gassed and his convoy was attacked. Could you please expand on this?
Over 200 youths allegedly mobilized by ZANU-PF attacked MDC Alliance President Nelson Chamisa. On pictures circulating on social media, they show a car which has been badly hit, and a number of people who are slogans and are carrying placards with insulting messages towards Nelson Chamisa. The party spokesperson said that the rowdy ZANU-PF youths were buzzed in, aiding that they stoned cars, barricaded roads with burning logs, and assaulted members of the MDC Alliance team who have been hospitalized. They did not review the number of people who are hurt, or the people saying that it was for their own protection. But Nelson Chamisa is not hurt, so he's currently not a conversation interface within communities, whereby going around in Zimbabwe talking to particularly in the rural areas. So that is what happened on Monday afternoon in regards to Nelson Chamisa's interface.
All right, the government has set up an interministerial committee to look into the brain drain in the health sector, following a sharp rise in a number of health professionals leaving the country for greener pastures. Please tell us more.
So the government has set up an interministerial committee whereby they are saying that they want to look into the causes of the brain drain, which is currently happening within the health. We have seen that there are a number of health professionals who are leaving the country for greener pastures. So the government has said that the ministerial committee has identified measures to accelerate provisions of non-monetary incentives such as staff accommodation, transport, vehicle loans, and provisions of meals, and also Wi-Fi facilities. So they also say that they would improve on the remuneration of tutors in nursing training schools, and they will embark on a serious adjustment of benefits as well. So that they're going to look into the issue, and they're working on improving the lives of the health personnel, of the health professionals in Zimbabwe, so that they don't continue to leave the country for greener pastures in other countries.
All right. Now, something I loved growing up in Zimbabwe was the tennis scene, particularly the Blacks. Actually, that's a white family of Zimbabwean tennis players, which makes me excited for your last story. Zimbabwe hosts international junior tennis events. Tell us about this.
So Zimbabwe is hosting a number of international junior tennis tournaments. Currently, Bulawayo is hosting the regional tournament, which got underway yesterday and is running until 17 October. And the tournament is featuring 4 countries, which is Malawi, Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. So the 2 top teams will qualify for the Continental Games, which will also be held in Zimbabwe from October 17 to 24. And Zimbabwe is also going to host the 3 International Tennis Federation 18 and under tournaments between October and November. So between October and November, we're going to witness Zimbabwe hosting a number of international junior tennis tournaments.
All right, we're certainly hoping for victory and, of course, exposure to new talent. Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having you on Africa Good Morning. Something that's also always good to have is good weather, but you can't predict that. You have to check out the forecast. Up next.
There's no one head size. Hats come in small, medium, and large. Eyeglasses are fitted. Just like with a hat or glasses, your mask should also fit your face, because any gap allows the virus to escape. No matter how good your mask is at filtering the virus, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. There are plenty of ways to get a good fit. Look for masks that come in different sizes and find the one that fits your face. Adjust the straps around your ears or head for a snug fit. Look for a mask with a flexible nose piece. Here's what to check. No gaps at the sides, no gaps at the nose, and no gaps around the chin. Now, breathe normally. Is it comfortable? If not, find another one. If it is comfortable, make sure when you blow hard, the air stays in your mask. Stay safe, close the gaps. And don't forget, it's not just about masks. Get vaccinated when it's your turn. Keep your distance, clean your hands, cover your cough with a bent elbow or tissue, and open a window.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. It's time for us to dive straight into your economic news stories for the day. And we start off in Mozambique. Mozambique authorities seized 2,000 cubic meters of illegal timber for export. Mozambique's National Agency for Environmental Quality Control, AQUA, has seized over 2,000 cubic meters of wood that was being illegally exported through the port of Beira in the central Mozambique, the state agency said. Morgado Musengwe, AQUA's delegate in Sofala province, told Radio Mozambique that the wood was in possession of two companies that had falsified data about the product. The companies intended to export the goods to Asia via the port of Beira. Timber seizures for attempted illegal exports are common in Mozambique, and the goods are usually destined for China.
Africa's free trade area gets 7 billion in support from AFDB. The African Development Bank said it will support trade valued at 7 billion over the next 5 years in a bid to spur the growth of the world's biggest free trade area. The financier, founded in 1964, will guarantee loans given to companies to sell their products across the continent in a move that will facilitate the development of Africa's continental free trade area that went into effect on the 1st of January. The bank will back about 2,000 transactions, and it said this in email. The African Export-Import Bank, or Afrimex, plans to make 40 billion in funding available over the next 5 days, while Africa Finance Corp has also promised backing.
Dubai's DP World, UK's CDC, to invest up to $1.7 billion in Africa. Dubai port giant DP World and Britain's Development Finance Agency CDC Group on Tuesday said they planned to jointly invest up to $1.72 billion in logistics infrastructure in Africa over the next several years, starting with modernizing 3 ports. The investments will initially focus on expanding ports operated by DP World in Egypt's Ain Sokna, Senegal's Dakar, and Berbera in Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland, CDC said. The partnership plans to invest along with ports in infrastructure like container depots and business parks. The expansion of the 3 ports would improve access to vital goods for 35 million people. The partnership between DP World and CDC, who are both already active across Africa, is among a growing list of international and multilateral groups investing in the continent.
3,000 Nigerian young people to be trained in film, television, and motion production. In a landmark partnership announced today, 3,000 young Nigerian people will be trained in film, television, motion picture production over the next 3 years. The partnership is between Lagos, the KAP Film and Television Academy, and the MasterCard Foundation. Founded by award-winning actor, director, and filmmaker Kuntle Afoloyan, the KAP Film and Television Academy is one of the specialized services subsidiaries at the KAP Hub in Lagos, which was formally unveiled to the public on Thursday, the 30th of September 2021. KAP Academy's training program will include masterclass series, a virtual series of 20 episodes providing e-learning to aspiring filmmakers, covering several aspects of filmmaking from directing, cinematography, and the business of film using Afoloyan's acclaimed movie, The Fugitive, as a case of study. The program will also provide 2 levels of certification from professional institutions in the areas of screenwriting, sound editing, directing, cinematography, and production design, among others, as well as practical hands-on training. It will also link participants to employment or gig entrepreneurship activities, not only in the film industry via placements and internship, but in a related subsector such as fashion, makeup, music scores, editing, and script writing.
Watch out Hollywood, because Nollywood is on its way. Now we end our economic news stories in Angola, where producers receive fertilizer at discounted prices. In the coming days, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will support farmers with fertilizers at subsidized prices in the order of 35% through an investment of 16.197 billion kwanzas. The information was released this Tuesday in Luanda by the Secretary of State for Agriculture and Livestock, Joao Cunha, during the briefing on the domain of the real economy. After holding a public tender in the form of an inverted auction on Monday, the companies that will supply the 30,000 tons of fertilizer made up of NPK, 5,000 tons of ammonium sulfate, and 2,000 tons of urea were chosen. Through the reverse auction, the state saved 803 million kwanzas in the acquisition of fertilizers. All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories. You know what comes up next: economic indicators. Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. It's time for us to dive straight into your sports news. Now, personally, I haven't had the privilege of witnessing a live athletics event in Namibia, but this Sunday I get my chance as African duathlon champs are on Sunday. Africa's top duathletes will be in action in Windhoek on Sunday when Namibia hosts the Prosperity Life Africa Duathlon Championships. A Namibian team of 28 athletes will compete against Africa's best in various categories, while the winning male and female elite athletes will aim to qualify for the World Duathlon Championships in Spain in November. In the elite male category, JP Berger and Divan Duploy will lead Namibia's onslaught against Africa's best. South Africa's onslaught will be led by the 24-year-old Jonathan Benjamin, who won the South Africa Triathlon Championships in June, and Dylan Kruger, who won the SA National Sprint Triathlon title last year. The duathlon will take place in the city center, starting in front of Rand Merchant Bank in Independence Avenue, with the running leg going down south to Aspenplatz and back, while the cycling leg will go north to the Simon de Wit Bridge and back. The racing gets underway when the first age groups start at 8 a.m. on Sunday, while the elite categories are due to start at 11:30 a.m.
Didio fires a hat trick as Senegal, Morocco books final round places. Famara Didio scored a hat trick for Senegal as they and Morocco won on Tuesday to become the first nation to secure places in the final African World Cup qualifying round. Senegal, who beat Namibia 4-1 3 days ago, have scored 16 points in the 4 World Cup qualifier against the Southern African country. Togo surprised host Congo-Brazzaville 2-1 in the same section to rise from the last to second, 8 points adrift of two-time World Cup qualifier Senegal. Substitute Salim Amala scored twice as Morocco took advantage of playing in a away match at home to overwhelm Guinea 4-1 in Rabat. Algeria trounced Niger 4-0 in Niamey to stretch an African record unbeaten run to 31 matches and regain first place in Group A from Burkina Faso own goal difference.
In our next story, South Africa wins the Vitality Running World Cup. South Africa was on Monday crowned as champions of the 2021 Vitality Running World Cup. Qualifying for the finals in first position, South Africa, with a final score of 382 points, leapt up the leaderboard to take the win, with more than 134,000 people signing up and running over 1.5 million kilometers for South Africa in the competition. In second place was Namibia with 327 points, followed by Mongolia on 289 and England on 247 points. Now in its third year, the world's largest mass participation free-to-enter running event attracted more than 627,000 registrations from 237 countries and territories, with over 3.5 million kilometers completed over the 3-week tournament. A staggering 189,403 polio vaccines were donated worldwide through UNICEF as a result of the incredible commitment of the VRWC runners across the world.
World Cup berth completes an almost perfect year for Denmark. With their qualification for the 2022 World Cup, Denmark not only showed their remarkable resilience in the wake of Christian Eriksen's near-fatal cardiac arrest, but served warning of their ambition in Qatar. A 1-0 win over Austria at a sold-out Parken Stadium on Tuesday clinched Denmark's place at the next year's finals, a day after Germany became the first country to qualify. Danish Prime Minister offered her congratulations on Instagram, posting a photo of herself and the sports minister dressed in a red and white from the inside of the stadium. Denmark coach Kasper, who would not have been in charge at the Euro 2020 if not for the delay caused by the pandemic, will have a year to prepare his team for the World Cup.
All right, now in the last of our sports stories, FIFA condemns abhorrent violence at Wembley. FIFA is investigating the clashes at Wembley Stadium between police and Hungarian supporters at Tuesday's game against England, saying they have zero tolerance against such abhorrent behavior. World Soccer's governing body is also looking into incidents in the game between Albania and Poland in Tirana, where bottles were thrown on the pitch after Poland scored. FIFA is currently analyzing reports of last night's FIFA World Cup qualifier matches in order to determine the most appropriate action, the governing body said in a statement. Police came under attack from Hungary fans after they moved into the away section and had to retreat. The Metropolitan Police said they had taken action after a steward was racially abused. As the officers made the arrest, minor disorder broke out involving other spectators. Order was quickly restored and there have been no further incidents at this stage. All right, that brings us to the end of our sports stories. After the break, we're going to get into the headlines from today's top stories. Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing you the news and current affairs happening in the SADC region and beyond. Now, if you perhaps missed our top stories at the top of the hour, worry not, here are the headlines. Somalia appeals to collaboration with Kenya after court's ruling. Deeper probe sought into allegations of sexual abuse by WHO staff in Congo. United Arab Emirates ready to support the DRC in the fight against terrorism. We will be out in full force, says NATCOM. Mozambique authorities seize 2,000 cubic meters of illegal timber for export. Africa duathlon champs on Sunday. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Thursday edition of Africa Good Morning. We do encourage you to send us your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we do have a website. It's called One Up 2, and we also have a Facebook and Twitter page. That's at Africa Good Morning. We encourage you to wear your mask, get vaccinated, because we are still in the middle of the pandemic. And on that note, it's all our love and all our light.
Tomorrow is Friday. Swera Jaganaka.